Well, welcome to my podcast, Trending Topics with BB. And I thought with the upcoming summer shows from New Kids on the Block that we would talk about them. But first, I have wonderful guests here joining me. I have Christina and Erica that we know from way back when I used to go to a lot more events. I took 6 years off from going to events. Well, kind of. So I figured, when Finley came up again, and there was like a possibility of them still doing it, I was like, I think I'm gonna go. So that I was like, because it's historic. So,
right.
Well, welcome to the podcast, and I guess we should start with. I'm wearing my 2008 shirt. That's how.
I know. I should have grabbed my shirt. I just got home. So.
No worries. So let's start before we get into like the excitement for the shows coming up. Let's talk about like the road of the reunion, like 2008, and like how we've all met and all the stuff that we've done. Because I know all of us have done a lot. But just kind of talk about like what the reunion has meant to you, and like what. I mean, it's 12 years now that they've been back.
I know.
It's like flown by, but not really. So let's just like, I know we've met at events over the years. So like talk about kind of what the reunion has done in terms of like the community that's been built and go from there.
Well, I think the story I want to tell is how I found out that they were getting back together. Like the rumors were out. I had just probably had my son. So, you know, when you have an infant, you're not really attached to the world as much. Mm-hmm. And my husband came home from work one day and said to me, New Kids on the Block are getting back together. And I said to him, I'm like, you're lying.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're lying. You're making that up. I said, I'll believe that when I see it, which was shortly followed by me sitting in my master bedroom with like an infant who was like, I don't know how old he would have been by then, not very old, praying that he would sleep so that I could watch the Today Show and see them, like the curtain drop and see them. And I'm like, please don't wake up. Just please don't wake up. I just need to see this happen. And then actually my husband was, like I said, I was at home. He got me tickets. So I went to that very first show in Toronto. And I was like so super excited. And one of my friends went with me and she goes, I don't ever think I've seen a smile on your face that big for all the time I've known you. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, I just can't explain. It was like, I can't believe this is actually happening. And while we were there, I was like, I can't believe this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I remember, you know, how they had their official fan club back in the day, like the first time they were, you know, around. And I remember getting that official paper saying that they were breaking up. And I remember just bawling and crying and not believing it. Like, I was like, I'm not going to believe this right now. And it was horrible. And so when I heard they were coming back, it was just so, I was so happy and overjoyed. But it was like you, I didn't believe it. I was like, yeah, whatever, you know. So yeah, it was a pretty cool day. It was pretty amazing.
I was in college. I was at U of A. And I was going through a tough time when I was in college. Family, personal stuff, all kinds of things. Just in a weird headspace. And my mom, who watches like every morning show possible, she goes, did you see the New Kids were on Today Show the other day? And I had missed it because I was in college. So I wasn't always watching TV or whatever. And it kind of sparked something in me because when I was a young kid, the first time around, I was really young when they broke up the first time. Mm-hmm. And I had a babysitter who was a blockhead. And like, that was like, she would play the videos, like the Hanging Tough videos all the time. And so when I was in college, fast forward, it was just an escape from like the stuff I was going through. Mm-hmm. And that kind of sparked me going, and then I bought tickets to the Phoenix show, and then the rest is history. So it grew from there because I think at the time in college, I really wasn't connecting with a lot of my peers. But for some reason, when the new kids came back, there was like this overwhelming like camaraderie of people when you would meet at shows. Because like, you know, I didn't do meet and greets the first time around because I didn't really have the money for it. But it just built, and it built the more things sold out and the more everybody was like meeting each other, and then the traveling started.
It's so fun to go to a show and you know everybody. You know what I mean? Even if you don't know them like your best friend, you still know them. Like Erica, I'm like, I know. It's like you see the same people every show you go, every event you go. And it's like a reunion, just like they say. It's exactly like a reunion, you know. And you have like kind of like that brotherhood type, you know, sort of deal, you know.
Well, and it's like the crazy thing because where I was like living in Nova Scotia, like I have to fly somewhere. Like that's the only way I could go to a show, right? I have to fly somewhere. So I would always be going to like I might be going to somewhere in Canada, I might be coming somewhere in the States. But, you know, I can remember, I know like going to a show and I would just see somebody that like, we were in a photo group before. I met them in Vegas. I met them wherever. And I'd be just like, they would go by and you just like run over and are like, hi, how are you? Because, you know, that's when you see them.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes in the most unexpected places, like you're not necessarily expecting to see the person there. And there they are.
And you don't have to explain or anything. You're just like, hey, and you just hug each other like, hey, like it was yesterday. And you just saw each other. Yeah, it's so crazy.
I think the other thing that worked in the favor of the reunion was the fact that's when social media came out.
Yes.
So Donnie got on Twitter, and then the rest of the guys got on Twitter, and then we all got on. We were the first like major community to embrace Twitter back in 2008, because that's when I joined, and I think that helped. Because I remember back in the day, their website, remember in the beginning, the website would always crash whenever like anything went on sale. And so with the advent of Twitter and Facebook and everything, I think that helped build the community because everybody was so frustrating with trying to get tickets and stuff with the demand of it all. That like it coincided building the community so that when everybody started going to multiple shows and stuff over the years and events, that's how you recognize people too. Because I remember going to Vegas a lot, or going on even when I ended up on the cruise in 2014, people knew who I was from like my Twitter name. They didn't know like my real name, but they knew my Twitter name, and like it just created like even the guys kind of recognize people by their like online names. So I think that kind of helped build the camaraderie too, where it's like even if you didn't know somebody was going to be at whatever event, it was nice to see them because you're like, oh, we didn't chat so much online, but now we're here. So
well, and even like crazy things that you'll do because you trust the rest of the fandom, right? Like when we lived in Arizona and the show was going to be in Arizona, and I was like, oh, I really want to do like Ultimate so bad, so bad. And Maria, who's in Montreal, is like, I'm like, hey, do you know how I can do that? And the morning I'm on there trying to get on, she writes me and says, send me your credit card number. I have an Ultimate in my box. And I'm like, I'm going to send somebody I have never met in my whole life my credit card number, which I did. Right, which I did, you know, and she did set it all up for me. And then it was like, I don't know how long later, probably like a couple of years later. And I went to a show in Montreal and she was there and she was in our photo group. And I was like, do you remember me? I sent you my credit card. You got me an Ultimate. And she's like, yes, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just like the crazy things you'll do because you just know. As a group that nobody, like everybody's out for everyone else. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not
you got each other's back. Yeah.
You're not just going to randomly, it's not like you're just going to like, you're going to send somebody randomly your credit card number and they're going to actually like use it on you. Right.
Right.
Like it was just, it it was just like this complete element of trust. Like there was no second thought about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think along those lines, it's kind of like an understood thing among everybody when things go on sale to like help each other, because there has been, don't get me wrong, it's not all peaches and roses.
Right.
But there has been people that take advantage of other people. But
yeah,
when it comes to like events like the cruise or something, when there's only so many tickets, it's different than the tour because obviously there's multiple dates and everything. But when it comes to the cruise and there's only 3,000 tickets on a ship with them,
yeah,
every day, that's people kind of go together to try to like, or in the case of an ultimate, when there's only like 10 or 20 or a show,
right,
to try to help each other. So I like that that's still part of, from what I understand, going on. There has been some other stuff that has gone on in the past, but for the most part, there's like this unwritten rule that like people help each other out if they can get through to get something in their cart or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
do you guys have a favorite memory over the years other than like the meet and greets or maybe even the cruise, but just like a favorite one that stands out above others?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I have the best. I think my favorite one was, I think it was in 2017. I went to the Phoenix concert, and I had got, you know how that was when they had the pit up front, that like semicircle pit, and I came in and I was like, right, for, because I wanted to be up, front of the stage, because that's me, as close as I can get. And Marissa, was standing there, and I was like, she was like, come on over. And I'm like, nobody's going to fight me for this. Okay. And that's, again, how the fans are, it's like, cool. So I walked right up to the stage. I was right on the very, right up to it. And Jordan was singing hard, and he bent down and he grabbed my hand and was like singing to me. Oh my gosh. That was like the best, because I'm a Jordan girl. That, I mean, you can't top that one. I mean, I've had a lot of good ones, but that was awesome. So that was pretty cool.
I would say my best was when we went to Toronto on the last tour, and I went with my friend Lisa. And I was telling Christina earlier, I met Lisa on a plane. She was sitting next to me with her new kid stuff from the show, and I had been at the show. And I said to her, "Were you at the show?" And she's like, "Yes." And we got talking, and then when she found out that I'd done meet and greet, she was like, "Oh, I have to go with you next time." And so then we sort of became partners in crime. So the two of us did that last show, and we were like, somehow, I don't know how I managed this, but somehow I managed, like the two of us were like right, like center front stage right there. And mostly watching her was like, it was so great to be so close. I was like sending pictures to people going, see these shoes? This is not Zoom. This is nothing. Like, this is actually like, that's how close I am. But the best part was watching her, because like I had fortunately had some other opportunities before that, and she hadn't had very many, and she was so excited. She was so excited, and just watching how excited she was made it so exciting for me.
Yeah. That makes me think of one of my good friends. She lives in Phoenix too. She's a BH too, but she took a picture of me that night that I was talking about, and it was kind of neat to see from a different perspective, because she enjoys me because I get so excited, and she's a big fan, but she doesn't like go crazy like I do, right? So she took a picture of me standing up with my hands up like this, looking up at Jordan. And I love that picture. That's my favorite. It's just like, I mean, everybody else has their hands down but me. And I'm just like, you would think I was the only person there. I was just, taking it all in. And she took a picture from way back, and it's got like I think there's some confetti coming down or something. It just looks so awesome the way she did it. And I was like, thank you for taking that picture. But she goes, I just enjoy watching you. Like, she's like, you just have so much fun. And you're just like, you would think you were the only person in the crowd, because I was just like, and and everybody behind me just looking at me like I'm crazy. But I was just having so much fun that night. Yeah. And so it's just neat, to see other people excited about it as well. So
I think the other time that was really, really funny was shortly after the reunion, I said to my sister, I said, I don't know how long this is going to last,
Yeah.
I want to do meet and greet. I really do. So
Yeah.
I convinced her to go actually to Manchester, which is about an hour from where I live now. So the two of us come, we fly in, we go. And so everything's fine. She like plays along. She does the whole, you know, meet and greet thing, even though she's like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but okay. But the best part was the look on her face when the show started, and everyone pretty much in that stadium, when they do B stage, when they do whatever, like everyone as a whole group, like turns, everyone does, because everyone's been to so many shows, they know exactly what's going to happen. And she's just like sitting there going, what is going on?
Where they're going to come out and stand. You see the X. I'm like, oh, they're going to stand right there. They're like, how do you know that? I know. Just believe me. They're going to stand right there. So-and-so's coming out.
Yeah.
Like,
and watching her. Yeah, watching her be like, what is going on here? Like, how do all these people know? I'm like, they've been here a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, God, there was some memories for me, because I haven't really I have gone to the shows in the last few years, but not like kind of last minute and like not with people, because I wasn't going to go. And then I decided to get tickets like for the mixtape tour. I got it literally within hours of the show. I was like, there's a ticket. I guess I'm going to buy it. But I would have to say, gosh, I went to Vegas a lot for the shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what was different about going to Vegas is that because either they had multiple shows in Vegas, or just because Donnie and John tend to like Vegas, they would hang out afterwards. And so a lot of times, the very first time I met Donnie, it wasn't even in a meet and greet. It was in the casino at the Palms.
Oh, wow.
After the show, he stayed an extra day and was like hanging out, and pretty much everybody else had gone home. So it wasn't like everybody swarming him. Even like most of the crew had gone home. Like it was just like John and Harley were there, and then Donnie, and then like a couple other, like Johnny and a couple other people. So it was very like they were trying to be incognito, but not really. Just like everybody had gone home the next day, and yeah, that was the first time, and it was very chill. It was very like that was the very first time meeting him. That was probably one of the most memorable, just because of the circumstance. Because after that, it gets chaotic.
Yeah.
Like when it's at a show, or when you're going to the meet and greet line, it's like
that's what I have not yet had, which I would love to have, like just a moment where they're not with everybody and it's not like chaotic and it's not crazy. And that would be awesome to just like bump into them somewhere. No, that would be kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, well, and it was unexpected. They were walking out of the buffet, and we were in the casino. We were like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" But
that would be cool.
Yeah, those. Is there a favorite tour since they've reunited that you've liked? Other than obviously the reunion is just like its own other thing, but like, is there a favorite tour since they've reunited that you've liked?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
That's so hard.
I love them all. I know.
Exactly. It's so hard. It's like
the last one was really cool only because I felt like it brought me back with all the old school stuff, you know, the Debbie Gibson and the Tiffany. I really love that because I love Tiffany. I love Debbie Gibson. And so it really brought me back to like my childhood. I was like, you know, back to when I was singing songs by Debbie, you know, Debbie Gibson songs and running around my bedroom, like pretending like I'm Debbie Gibson. And, you know, so that really, I used to sing to Debbie Gibson. So I really like that one because I just really felt like I was transported back into my youth and it was so much fun. But they've all been awesome, you know. But although I hate to share them with another group, I'll be honest. I like when it's just New Kids and the whole time is New Kids, but that was a good one. I did like that one. So
yeah, like I said, I don't know if I could pick. I don't know.
I know
it's so hard. It's like I really did like the last one a lot too. I'm like you. It's like here's my whole. I mean, I am a bit older, but here's sort of that time where music was really like, really like that main part of your like. It's the part that as soon as you hear it, it comes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like now when my son says to me, like when we lived in Arizona, now when the radio certain songs come on the radio, he says that's an Arizona song.
Yeah.
Right? Well, when I hear those songs, it's like, that's that time, like that certain time in my life that was this like, you know, you're sort of like carefree and everything's just kind of, you know, great. And, you know, and at that point would have been my like huge desire to be able to like go to a show. Cause like I said, we were in the middle of pretty much nowhere.
Right. You think about if I was to go back to my teenage self, you know, when I was 12 or whatever, because I was young when I started liking them, and tell that I was going to meet them, not just once, but several times, like I would have been like, shut up. You're such a liar, you know? Like, it's amazing what we are able to do now, especially with the social, you know, whatchamacallit, you know, paths and stuff now that we have, but social media.
Yeah. I also think over the years, it's not changed, but what I mean is like it's being that we're all adults, I think we appreciate it more.
Yes.
And it's like, who would have thought that 12 years there'd still be stuff going on? Like we're coming up, we'll get to the shows in a minute, but like the fact that like, we never even, well, even the new kids have said over the years themselves that they didn't think past the first tour in 2008 it was going to last. And now they've done 10 cruises. They were supposed to do the 11th last year.
Right. Well, I don't think, you know, they didn't realize that we would be still wanting more and more. Like, I mean, I think they were surprised to see how many turned out on that Good Morning America when they came back. They were like, oh, they really do still like us, you know? But we never, you know, did. We, you know.
Well, I think, like I said, for most people, it's that time. It's that sort of time in your life where music kind of becomes an important part of, important part of your life.
It's a hard part of time in your life, you know, those pre-teenage years. My friend and I were just talking about that, how she had a hard time those times that, you know, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old going, you know, it's just an awkward time. You have, you know, I had a lot of bullying because I liked new kids, so I was very bullied. So when you came home, you went in your room and that was like your, I don't know, your rescue, your little area where you would just chill and think about new kids and pretend that you were one of the new kids or whatever. I don't know. You know, and it was just, I don't know. It helped me get through.
Right. And now you can go there. You can go there and everyone's like, it's a happy place. So everyone, you know, nobody wants to not be able to go to their happy place.
And it reminds me of like when my friends would come over and we'd stay up all night and watch New Kids and watch those VHS tapes over and over and over. And I was happy. And that was the times I was happy, was when I was watching them. And I just, thinking back, it just brings so much joy to me. Just thinking about it right now, so much fun. So much fun.
I also think too, with technology being and how like things have been restored and online, and the joke used to be what happens on the cruise ends up on YouTube. I mean, and recently, earlier this year, I kind of went down a rabbit hole and went back and re-looked at concert footage and cruise memories and stuff in Vegas. And yeah, there is this like, it's fun to look back, but it's like, it also brings those memories back. And it's also, you know, that nobody but at the people there, the blockheads, get it. It's one of those things where I, you know, explaining it to people in my life that like don't understand it. They're like, okay, whatever. And so it's nice to be able to have like conversations like this with people that are like,
people who understand.
Well, because nobody at the barbecue at my house this afternoon understood why there was a bottle of wall sauce out for the barbecue. Except me.
Yeah.
Not because I love it, but also why else would I buy it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how would I know about it? Do you know what I mean? How would I know about it? So yeah, no one else understood why I had a bottle of wall sauce today.
Yeah. But it's so true. Nobody but BHs can understand this. Like, and you could try to explain until you're blue in the face, but you just don't understand unless you are, you know what I mean? So weird, but.
When it's interesting too, like you guys have probably had the same thing. It's what's surprising to me 12 years later is that the more there's events, you still end up running into people if you go back to events that have still never been to a reunion era show. And you're like, but you're an adult. And obviously there's been multiple opportunities over the years. Obviously there has been a high demand, but I mean, they've done, when they do 40 shows a tour, at least there's opportunities, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's funny how people are like, well, I didn't know they were back. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day online, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to Fenway. And they're like, they have a show this year? They're back? And I was like, yeah.
No, I hate when people say that. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's
They're
like
they've
you would
been.
think by now with social media and the internet that people could just Google it and be like, oh, yeah, they were reunited in 2008. But people don't. Like,
Yeah.
so you've both been on the cruise, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Haven't
You
I?
haven't?
No, I haven't.
I've been on two.
It's been sort of my like. It's sort of been my like kind of a little bit on the bucket list. At the same time, I'm like petrified because I'm like, I don't know. One, if I'm going to be seasick, and two, I'm like, I don't know if I can stay awake as long as everyone else.
Well, there's people who pass out, so you wouldn't be the only one. And that's what surprises me, that people who go on that and then they get drunk and pass out and they don't even, and I'm like, oh no, I'm absorbing everything. I'm going to stay up till. But when you get all excited, you'd be surprised. You can stay up. Like you get
your adrenaline.
Yeah, your adrenaline gets running. So.
Well, and my guess will be my partner in crime will be like, I know she hums and haws about wanting to go, like she wants to, and then she's not sure, and then she does. So I suspect at some point, if it's possible, the two of us.
You got to experience at least once. It's amazing. Like, I'm so glad I went the first couple of years. And the first one was right after I got divorced. So it was really nice for me. It was a really good, not only did I want to go, but it was like a getaway, and it was just, well, much appreciated.
Yeah, the thing about what I liked about the cruise, and I think about if I don't do anything like go to a show or whatever, but save to go on the cruise, I like from here on out, if I just go on the cruise whenever it's an option, I think that like the fact that it's a vacation, it's 4 days,
Right.
fulfills the fact of like not doing anything else. Because I went in 2014 and I'm actually thinking about going again soon because I never thought that, but it seems it's a vacation and it's like, it's more than just one show. So it's like, we're there for a few days.
You get a lot out of it.
Yeah. There's the concert, the meet and greets, the parties, the destinations, like.
Yeah. And you have a vacation, but you also have new kids too. So it's it's like a double, whammy or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with Christina. You at least need to do it once if you can.
Yeah.
Because and now with the ships the way they are, they don't. I mean, they sometimes get rocky, but it's not so bad that you're like, I don't think I can handle it. And if you talk to a lot of, like, the guys get seasick, but they now wear patches and
wear a patch.
Take Dramamine and stuff. So like even them, they love, like Donnie loves the cruise now. But he said back in the 80s when they did that one for the Coca-Cola summer tour or whatever, they were like, this is the worst thing ever. But now it's their favorite thing. Yeah. So I think, I got preparation.
Right. I got a little bit one night on the first one, but my roommate had brought ginger. You chew on ginger. They're like candies made out of ginger, and I totally helped. And so the next time I brought a bunch of those, and I was fine, never had any problems. So, but it's rare because you don't. It's so huge. It's like being in a building, so you really don't feel it unless it really gets rocky. But it's not.
And you're on certain parts of the ship, like where like the higher decks, you'll feel it. The lower down, you won't as much. So. Yeah. Obviously, that doesn't help when the parties are going, but I felt the year I went, the very first night was the worst night. And that was also the night I was the most intoxicated. I just remember being on the Lido deck. Oh, and it rained that night too, because it's a New Kids event. And there was one point that Joey comes through the crowd because it was Masquerade Ball night that year. And he was just going through the crowd, like dancing with people. And I just remember the boat helped with the like dancing and the like. It was just something that like a memory where I'm like, where else would this happen?
I just love that ship. I love that they're not above us and they can just like come and party with us and be right next to us. You know, where, I mean, how many groups do that? Like, how many celebrities will be like, you know, they usually perform and then they're like, see ya, bye, you know, but they want to be with us. They come down and they're a part of us. They want to hang out with us and dance with us. You know, it's just kind of cool. It's just, that's what I love about them, you know?
Yeah. So we're in now. I think we should talk about the shows coming out. And then we can come back to this. But so I didn't decide until earlier this year to go to Fenway. Mainly because of, you know, we had COVID, the whole thing last year. We don't want to talk about, but I didn't know if it was going to happen or not happen. And then as it was getting closer, I was being optimistic. Oh, it'll probably happen. So I'll just buy a ticket and then get traveling accommodations or whatever. So when they announced Fenway, was it the year before 2020? Because
it was it was in January of 2020, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, did you guys buy tickets right away to go to Fenway? Okay.
I did.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say I did because now I'm in New Hampshire and I'm like, I'm only 2 hours away from there. That again, bucket list item must be attending.
That was
then,
right.
Yeah. And so that it was like, yes. So and of course my partner in crime, Lisa, was like, we're going to go. Right. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to go. The sad part is going to be that now I'm going to get to go and she's not going to get to go. She's in Canada. So she's not going to be able to go with me. So whoever stands or sits next to me are going to hear a lot of, you could have been Lisa, but you're not. But I hope you're ready to have a good time.
If you're closer to me, I might steal your chair there. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. Well, when they said in January 2020, I didn't originally, but I was going to go, but I just hadn't bought my ticket yet. Well, then COVID hit, and I was like, oh crap, good thing I didn't buy my ticket because it's not going to happen, right? But my friend and I, we were like, if they ever play Fenway again, because every time they go to Fenway, we're like, we should have went. So this time I was like, I'm going. That's my bucket list, and I'm going. So when they said they were going to do it, I was like, I'm going this year. And then COVID hit. I was like, you got to be kidding me. The year that I finally say I'm going to go, and then COVID hits. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to hold off, see what's going to happen. I was kind of like you, I was waiting to see what's going to happen. And then they decided to reschedule for a year out. So then my friend in August, she's like, everybody's returning their tickets. So tickets are cheap. Buy them right now. So last August, I got on there and I bought two tickets because I'm taking my daughter too. So yeah, that's when I bought mine, was in last August. So yeah, but I knew I was going. It was just a matter of, is it going to happen, you know, with COVID and all. So, but
I think the thing that's for me, the fact that they have Belle Biv DeVoe, and for me, I'm a huge New Edition fan too.
Yes, me too.
And I always said that since I've taken my hiatus for 6 years, I said I'll come back if there's a possibility of like New Kids and New Edition together. And the fact that it's half of New Edition and then they have plus special guests at Fenway, and just kind of makes me feel that even if the other members of New Edition just walk out on stage for 5 seconds, there's a reunion for New Edition, and then the New Kid, they're all there, and it's Fenway, and it's a big historic thing, especially since Maurice Starr is like, he's had his health issues, so it's like he probably won't be able to be there unless I don't know if he lives there. I don't know much about it, but just the idea. And also, it's always been on my list to go to a Fenway show. So I said, why not? After 2020.
Well, and Bobby Brown, after Bobby Brown was on The Masked Singer.
Well, and also he's clean now. Bobby Brown is clean, and after the issues he's had, I just feel like even if it's just them walking out on stage, obviously I would love a joint tour, but I'll take what I can get at this point. So I just said, why not? So I bought my ticket like a couple months ago. So not even like, but the point is like, the other thing too, is that I know that now that you guys are going and a bunch of people, I know a lot of people, but we might not be sitting together during the show, but it's also a few days in Boston where it's going to be like we overtake Boston, and it's going to be like a big reunion, like we
Yeah.
were talking about.
Yeah.
And so, and I've never been to Boston, so I'm kind of like checking two things off my list. So it's one of those things where it's like, especially after 2020, when we're like, oh, things can just never happen. So
yeah.
yeah, and then they just added a show. Like, is it the day before or 2 days before?
It's the day before.
It's the 4th. I think
Or
it's
is
the
it
4th.
today? That's the 4th, right? Yeah. I know. And I'm a teacher, so I'm already cutting it close by taking those days. So I was like, dang it, I can't take another day. So I can't go to that one, unfortunately. Too, but
And that one's with Salt and Pepper, so it's kind of like mixtape tour part 2 again.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Salt and Pepper, but I was like, with them adding that late, I was like, I fly into Boston that day. I can't go to. My flights are already booked. I can't.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Change that. But.
Yeah, it'd be tough to.
So I guess the big reason why I wanted to do this on the podcast is because I wanted to talk to people that I haven't, like you ladies, I haven't seen you guys in forever. And also, yeah, with this show being kind of historic and, you know, I just think it's also going to be, I don't know. I watched last year, they did the virtual cruise. Did you guys watch the virtual cruise?
Yes.
And a few of their live streams. And I think even more the new kids appreciate shows now. And not that they didn't before, but I mean, Donnie really is probably itching to be out there on stage. And so, not to say that they all won't, but I think it's just going to be something in the air. Even if it rains, I'm going to dance in the rain because it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be an emotional night. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Just, with COVID to come, it's just like, yeah, we've all been through so much lately, and
it's going to be a huge release.
And it's new kids, and it's Boston, and which is nostalgic in itself. So. I was like, I have to see them in Fenway, Boston, at least once. Otherwise, I'm not a fan. I'm like, I have to. Yeah.
Right. And I also, again, it's not only a reunion for them and us, but it's a reunion as fans too.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Because we're the only people that know that feeling of seeing them perform live.
Right.
And the energy and just
like, you paid what for that ticket? I'm like, you don't understand. You can't even. You're like, you don't get it.
Yeah, it's to other people who will listen to this or see this later when it's in video replay, might be like, these guys are crazy. But you don't understand. That's the thing. Is like, just go to one. Like I always have said over the years when I've talked about it to people, I go, at the very least, if you like music and you're even a novice fan or even like one of their songs, go once.
Yeah.
Because you might have an idea of what it was in the 80s and what it could be, but I remember seeing some men go to the show. That's the thing that's changed over the years too, is like I've seen more men at the show, not with their significant others or not, but the mixtape tour, because they had Naughty by Nature and Tiffany and Debbie Gibson and Salt and Pepper. I saw more men at the show than I probably had ever seen in a show. Not because it like you were saying, it was the era of that music, and like people are not ashamed anymore to be like, I'm just gonna go to the show. Yeah.
I think I've realized that too. Like, I think guys are starting to admit to, you know what, I kind of like them too, and they're not as afraid to say that, which is kind of weird for me because, they always had to pretend like they didn't like them, but.
And I always felt bad for like the one dude who was like, who was like somewhere in the middle of this whole ream of women who are like losing their mind.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, but then you soon see like there's that one dude, now there's two dudes, and they're having good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I have seen, it's funny, I like to people watch over the years, and I've seen people that you can tell that they were like dragged to the concert, but by the end of it, If you run into them or if they were near you and you say, well, did you enjoy it? They're like, yeah, that was really fun. I was surprised I had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I tell people is like, at least do it once.
Yeah.
And just kind of have an open mind because they put on a good show. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. And
even if you don't really know the music,
right,
you'll
and I
know
think
the music.
more about just the music too. It's like it's just the whole feeling in the air. It's like a party. You know, it's not just about the music. It's about a reunion and about a party, having fun together. It really is. It's just so much fun. I don't know. It's a unique type of concert. It's a unique gathering, I guess. I don't know.
So we've talked about like stuff in the future that we kind of want to do. So Erica mentioned that you've had an ultimate. Have you had an ultimate, Christina? And for those that are listening,
I haven't. I've had many meet and greets, but not ultimate. So one of my friends and I, that's our next bucket list. So we said if they're going to go on tour, that's my next thing. I'm going to do an ultimate, but we kind of want to do it together because we're too afraid to. I'm afraid to go in by myself because I don't know what I would even say, or I'd just be like, hi. So we agreed that if we do that, we're gonna try to see if they'll. I don't know if they'll let us, but if we both buy an ultimate, it'd be nice to go together and just enjoy it together, just so we're not nervous. But that's my next thing. That's my next check.
So for those listening or watching, an ultimate is an upgraded part of the meet and greet experience where you get one-on-one time with all 5 of the new kids, and you'll get a group photo with them, and it's actually longer than the initial meet and greet that's usually just like a photo op with a bunch of other fans. So for those listening, it's also limited now because when they first came out with Ultimates, it was the very first time they played Fenway 10 years ago, and they oversold it. So I think they were like everybody wanted an Ultimate in Fenway, and it kind of pushed the show back because they were still doing meet and greets for like 2 hours or 3 hours. And it was just like, it exhausted them prior to the show. So I think they're like, we can only do like 10 or 12 a show now or whatever it is. So it's this coveted thing to get an ultimate because there's so little of them available now.
Right.
So for those that were like, what are they talking about? But yeah. Yeah, I still haven't had an ultimate. I've done one meet and greet. Like I said, most of my, other than the cruise, has been random encounters in Vegas or out by a venue. I didn't like buy a lot of meet and greets over the years, but the ultimate is on my list because why not? You know, like it's that one on
I think too, like I even like since COVID, like COVID really, I don't know, I guess I'm like, you know, I need to live while I can live, you know, live and enjoy life while you can, you know, and so I'm like, crap, you know, when they start coming out, when they come back to doing their tours again, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. You only live once and life is short. So, but yeah, I mean, I've done lots of meet and greets. Actually my first time ever, I met Jordan before I met all the guys. That was my first meet and greet. I went to one of Jordan's unfinished concerts in Texas, in Houston, Texas. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. Anyway, so I met him first. And then, of course, I've done the cruises. And you know, with a cruise, when you buy a cruise ticket, you get a free meet and greet. And I was just telling my friend this today. And she was blown away that they actually meet and greet with every person on that boat. And she was like, what? And I was, every person? I said, yeah. So I go, that just goes to show you. She goes, wow, that's really nice of them. I'm like, yep. And that's the kind of people they are. And that's why I love them, you know? So
I'm also curious, though, because of this post-COVID world, even though everybody's getting vaccinated or maybe not, I don't know. But I have noticed that with stuff that is announced this year, a lot of the VIP options this year are coming with a lot of artists are not coming with a meet and greet. They're coming with like front row tickets and merch.
Right.
And
I was wondering if they would still do it. I was curious too if they were still going to do a meet and greet or not, if they were comfortable with that or how that was going to work. But it sounds like they are. So
yeah, I'm just curious going forward if overall not just meet like new kids, but just the industry is going to change in terms of that option. I hope not, but
well, I know that's what my friend was saying. She's like, if I have to stand in front of a plexiglass, she goes, I'm not going to pay for a, you know, meet and greet and be like waving through a plastic, thing. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I want to touch him. I want to hug him. I'm like, So yeah, but I don't know. It'll be curious to see how. Yeah, I think it is going to change. I think some people will be comfortable and other people won't.
So Erica, can you talk about your experience doing?
Yeah.
Doing my ultimate.
Yeah.
So it was when I was in Phoenix. It is longer, but it is a blur. The first thing I remember was I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I have no idea what I'm going to say. So I walked in, Danny greeted me, and I said, hi, my name is Erica. And they proceeded for the whole time to say, like, he took and introduced me to each of the other guys as I'm Erica. Like, I am Erica. That's how he introduced me to everybody, like purposely, like it just completely, I think, trying to like break the ice and whatever. And then my biggest plan when I got in there was that at that point, how old would my grandmother have been? She would have been in her 80s then. She's like 96 now. She would have been in her, like, she would have, and I had to tell Donnie that she watched Blue Bloods. Like, that was my like big thing. I had to tell him. And so I was like, I have to tell you, like, my Nana, she watches Blue Bloods and she really, really likes it. And he was like, oh, thank you. And then of course it's like they're just kind of talking, you're kind of talking, and the photographer is doing all the pictures and you don't even realize that they're doing pictures. And then you get this big ream of pictures afterwards and you're just like, and again, it just made me laugh because I could just see, as much as it was like a lot going on, like whenever I look at those pictures, I can just see how, like, the smile on my face is so big. I hate to smile in pictures. I really don't like to smile in pictures.
Yeah.
And the smile on my face is just so huge.
I know. I look at all my pictures because all my meet and greets I chose Jordan, and I'm all like, everyone, my smile is just like huge, and I'm just
right. Well, and I think the other thing, like in meet and greets, like I always kind of do okay, you've done this before, like if you're getting your group together, you might have, where you'd like to stand, but you might have to work with that to make everything work. And, you just do. But I think my next big plan is this last December was my 50th birthday. And so my hope had been, obviously without COVID, they would have been going on tour, right? Mm-hmm. So I told my husband that because I was 50, I needed to do at least 5 shows. and that I had to have a meet and greet for every show. And then my plan was that then I could have, each time I could pick one. So by the time I was done, I had stood with everybody.
Oh yeah, that's smart.
But I remember like even going the very, very first time and us talking as a group at that point, because at the very beginning, it was very unstructured, right? And it could be really like nutty. And the whole group of us agreed that everyone was going to get a chance to talk to every single one of the guys before we were done, which was really nice because I know that there's some, initially at the beginning, there was a lot of, I'm just going to stand by whoever I like and I'm just going to talk to them, and no one else got a chance to do that. And because it's just not enough time.
Yeah.
Right?
Like 10 seconds.
Yeah, like 10 seconds.
You're like, okay, bye, thank you.
Yeah, bye, thank you. But you want to know what? As much as it is that, there's
you
just
every second though. Yeah.
That's right. You love every second of it. And it's promptly followed by, I need to do that again.
Yeah. Yes, it is. As soon as you jump off that stage, you're like, crap, I need to do it again.
I need to do that again. And like I said, my friend Lisa, once I took her once, like she's just like, we need to do this again. We need to do this again.
I know. You walk away and you're like withdrawing immediately.
There's just something about it. I just think it's that like ability just to have that momentary, like close connection. And even when we couldn't do that, and even when they did the live streams, like the very first, like at the very beginning, when they first did that first live stream, it was like they had taken us all and said, we miss you all and we want to be in your home with you.
Right. Because they didn't have to do that. Right.
Right. And it was like, and it was just, and each time, like, you'd just be waiting, right? You just be waiting because you're like sitting in the house going, what else am I going to do? Just dying for them to say, okay, it's going to happen. And then just waiting for that moment to come where you could hit the button and there they were, right on the screen.
I know. And it, yeah. So true. So true. Yeah.
Yeah. When they did the virtual cruise last year, they did a lot of, Donnie was in a lot of Zooms calls with like a lot of fans.
Yeah.
And the one thing that got me, because I guess we didn't know, obviously they, like, Donnie lost his mother, and we didn't know kind of last year that her health was as bad as it was, because they kind of didn't really talk about it much. But I noticed, if you go back and watch it, because they're all on YouTube to anybody, but the one, I think it was it, I don't remember which night. It was like, wasn't their GPS. Like, they still did theme nights, but there was one where Donnie was just like in tears the whole night because he was just seeing everybody's faces from the Zoom call and everybody having a good time at home. And like,
he was just like,
the guys were kind of like emotional as well. And it was like, kind of brought it all home a little bit about the fact that like, there's been these years of connection, and then 2020 hit, and like we're all stuck at home, and like, but it was cool that we had the internet to be able to connect us. So it's like, and if you go back and to anybody that listening or watching this, you'll be able to see it on YouTube if you just search for it. They did basically like a virtual version of what the 4 days of the cruise would be. So like Joe did a Joe show, like a whole one-man show. Danny did a cooking show. Donnie did karaoke, and then they had their like would have been party nights where it's like everybody's on Zoom, and they also did like a
game, didn't they?
Show. Yeah, like Family Feud.
Yeah, something like that.
So, and I think what's cool about that is, the cruise got canceled because of COVID. So they put together a virtual version for everybody to be like, not as, because obviously it was kind of disappointing that the cruise was canceled for a lot of people. So I think that's what's cool, is that they went out of the way to do that.
Yeah. And I feel like they're always doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, it was a great opportunity for anyone who had never done the cruise before. Like for me, it was a great opportunity to sort of get that little like window into what goes on, and just sort of the energy and the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So there was that opportunity to do that as well. I mean, it opened it up to such a large volume of fans, like anybody who kind of wanted to kind of check in for some of those things and see what was going on. Right.
Yeah. And that's one thing about the cruise. I feel like the camaraderie is just like, you really on the cruise, like concerts are cool. You feel like, reunion, whatnot. I think because you're on that boat for 4 days with the same people, it's really like you're just one big giant family, and you get all emotional, and you're crying one night, and it's just everyone's crying, and of course you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so you're exhausted, but you're crying, and it's so much fun, Erica. It's so much fun, but I don't know. It's something you have to experience. That's for sure. Yeah.
So before we sign off, we've all talked about, we all have a list. So mine is an ultimate. I'm checking off Fenway here. Yeah. We're checking off Fenway. Is there anything other than like maybe the cruise or anything that you're looking forward to doing that you haven't done with the new, like at an event or?
My ultimate dream, if I could win like the lotto, like the Powerball, my ultimate dream would be to go, like actually physically, like follow them for the entire tour. That would be my ultimate goal if I could win the Powerball. Yeah,
I'd be right with you. We'll go together.
That's right. If I win the Powerball, I'll let you know, and we'll be on it.
We'll all go together. That'd be so much fun. That would be so much fun. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to going to Wahlburgers because I've not yet been there. There's none. There's none.
So
there's none here. Yeah, there's none in Arizona, obviously, and I haven't been to Las Vegas in a long time. Where is because there's one in Las Vegas, one in California. I mean, I know there's a lot now, but so that's one thing that my friend and I want to go to. I guess a bunch of people are meeting up at the Wahlburgers by Fenway, but I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be a little crowded, but it would be neat to see Donnie there. I would love to meet him in that atmosphere, like away from a concert, or like, or just walking down the street would be awesome. But that's probably not going to happen. But that would be fun, Like I feel like everybody has these pictures where they meet them somewhere, just they bump into them either at Wahlburgers or on the set or somewhere, But I never get to do that. I only see them at the show or at the meet and greet. Like I'd love to just bump into them somewhere. That would be fun. Just to see them on a down low, I don't know, every day. You know what I mean?
I've been to the Vegas Wahlburgers and 2 Wahlburgers in LA. I've been to the one on Sunset, and then there was one at USC. I don't know if it closed because of COVID. I heard something about that. But anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to going to Wahlburgers in Boston, and maybe the original one, and maybe the one also at Fenway. I don't know. But I just feel like it's going to be epic because everybody's got the same kind of mentality of like, well, we're gonna at least hit Wahlburgers up at least once. So
right,
it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I think so too. I was really hoping. I know it's funny, but I really wanted to meet his mom. So when I heard about it, I was like in tears because that was one of my goals too, was to meet Alma. I really wanted to meet Alma. I just thought she was such a cool woman, and I just thought she was so strong to raise 9 kids, a single parent. Like I just wanted to say I met her, and she just seemed like a fun person to meet. And when I found out, she had passed, I was, oh my gosh, I was just in tears. I was like, no. So anyway, that was a side note, but that was to do when I was in Boston, but now I won't be able to do that. So
well, I know a lot of people are also looking to go to Alma Nove, which is their other restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, so since the original Wahlburgers is across the street, I think at some point during the weekend, a lot of us will be there. So
it's really good too. It's really good too. I was there shortly after it opened. My husband, we were in Boston for something, and my husband took us for a drive so that I could give it a try. He does, he's pretty good about some of those things he knows I want to do. It was a really good meal, except for the fact that, at that point my son was pretty small. And so it was really not a little kids restaurant. But other than that, the food was delicious.
Exciting. Well, we're almost at an hour. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. This was fun.
This was really fun.
Yeah. And for those that didn't, I know there were some other people that were wanting to join us, but I think there's going to be a couple more episodes that I'm going to do leading up to Fenway. We have like a month, right, until we're all heading out, basically. Yeah. Well, a month and like a week, whatever. So thank you for joining me. And for those that listen to this on the podcast, you'll see that it'll be up when you receive this Monday. But thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was great. It was great to see both of you.
Yes. Yeah.